Two men broke into your house last night to kill you. You did what you had to do. Now you're sitting across a table from the man who sent them, and he's offering you coffee with a steady hand and an easy smile. But that's the middle of the story. Let's go back to the beginning. You get the assignment on a Tuesday. Your supervisor slides a manila folder across the desk without a word of preamble, then looks at you and says just 3 words, "We need you." Inside the folder is a name, a photograph, and a sheet of background notes you read twice and then hand back. The man in the photograph could be anyone's grandfather, round-faced, reading glasses, a flannel shirt. Someone who waves at the mail carrier. Someone who brings casseroles to sick neighbors. Your supervisor tells you this man is the leader of his local Ku Klux Klan cell. Your job is to become his friend. What your supervisor doesn't tell you, what he can't tell you, is that this assignment is going to force you to make a decision about an innocent woman that has no clean answer. A decision that will live rent-free in your chest for years after everything is over. But that comes later. First, you have to disappear into someone else entirely. You move to the man's town 6 weeks before you even try to make contact. You rent a small house on the edge of town, nothing special, the kind of place where the gutters need cleaning and the porch light flickers. You take a job at the hardware store on Main. You wave at neighbors from your truck. You figure out which diner has the best biscuits and you go there every morning at 6:12 until the waitress starts pouring your coffee before you've even sat down. You build a character like a novelist building a protagonist. A man with a pickup truck and a long list of grievances against the federal government. A man who doesn't rant, he doesn't need to, he just lets it slip out in pieces. A comment about taxes. A slow shake of the head when the news comes on. A fake work history in 3 different states. A fake ex-wife in Tallahassee. You construct a backstory so airtight that no one should suspect anything. The problem is should. On day 9, a man in a gray truck parks across the street from your house for 40 minutes. He doesn't get out. He doesn't check a phone. He just sits there with the engine running, watching your front door like he's waiting for something to happen. Could be nothing. Could be a guy waiting on a friend. You write down his plate number anyway. Then you go back inside and make dinner and don't look out the window again. First contact with the target happens at a neighborhood cookout 3 weeks in. Someone introduces you to the man from the photograph. His name is Dale. He shakes your hand firm, looks you in the eye, and then spends 10 uninterrupted minutes talking about his tomato garden. Soil composition. Deer fencing. How the heat's been punishing this year. You nod along. You don't know the first thing about tomato gardens, but your grandmother loved to grow things, so you mine whatever fragments you can remember and reflect them back. You tell him you garden too. His face opens up. That's progress. Real progress. You slip a few things into the conversation, carefully chosen comments that signal to a man like Dale that you're on the same side, that you share the same frustrations, the same suspicions, the same enemies. He smiles, but he's cautious. That's fine. Trust is built slowly. A week later, Dale invites you to a meeting. It's a back room behind a machine shop. 12 men on folding chairs beneath a buzzing fluorescent light. The room smells like motor oil and old cigarettes. It feels, disturbingly, like 100 other rooms you've been in, the kind where men drink coffee from foam cups and complain about things. You notice 2 men in the far corner immediately. They're not eating. They're not talking to anyone. They're watching the room the way a man watches a room when that's his job. One of them has his chair angled so his back is against the door. Nobody sits like that by accident. The meeting starts harmless, the economy, local crime, the familiar refrain of how things used to be. Then it shifts. The language changes. The restraint falls away. By the end, they're saying things that curl your stomach, and they're saying them the way you'd talk about the weather. Casual. Certain. You drive home, park in your driveway, and sit with the engine running. Those 2 men watched you all night without ever once relaxing. Do they know? They can't know. You're just being paranoid. But paranoia, you learn, is part of the job. Your FBI handler wants a report every 72 hours. You drive 12 miles to a payphone near a shuttered laundromat and make the call fast. Never the same phone twice. Never the same route home. You make yourself deliberately imperfect, miss a meeting once, seem distracted occasionally, because a man who never slips isn't a man. He's a performance. 3 weeks in, Dale invites you to his house for dinner. His wife makes pot roast. His granddaughter sits on his lap and shows you a drawing she made at school, a yellow house with a dog in the yard and a son with a smiley face. Dale looks across the table at you and says, "You're good people. I'm glad you moved here." And you feel it. A real warmth in your chest. For half a second, you forget what this man is. You forget why you're sitting at his table. You just feel like someone's friend. You drive home and sit in your driveway for 20 minutes with the engine running. That's the moment you understand what this job actually costs. It doesn't just ask you to pretend to be someone else. It asks you to become someone else, and the longer you stay, the harder it gets to remember which version is real. The next week, Dale pulls you aside after a meeting and says they need to talk to you about something. That sentence means one of two things: they trust you enough to bring you deeper inside, or they found something wrong. You pull into the machine shop lot the following Thursday and immediately know it's not a normal meeting. Dale, the two watchers, and a fourth man you've never seen before, broad-shouldered, blank-faced, the kind of man who takes up space in a room just by standing in it. The door closes. You hear the lock turn. Take your shirt off. Your stomach drops. You're wearing a wire. You have exactly 1 second to keep your face from showing it. You laugh. "Excuse me." Dale's voice is flat. "We check everyone before a conversation like this." Your mind is running at full speed. The transmitter is sewn into the collar of your jacket. The large man takes your shirt, runs his hands across every seam, checks the collar, hands it back. Then the jacket. He turns it inside out. His fingers move along the lining, 1 inch at a time, toward the collar, toward the transmitter. You watch his hands. You cannot look away. His fingers stop half an inch short. He hands the jacket back. He's clean. Dale sits down. They lean in. And then he says her name, a civil rights attorney in Atlanta who's been helping send their associates to prison. He describes what needs to happen to make her stop. He doesn't use euphemisms. He says she needs to disappear. You sit in that chair absorbing a murder plot against an innocent person, and you nod slowly. But the two watchers in the corner still haven't relaxed. They ran their test. You passed. And still their eyes find you every few minutes, like they're waiting for you to make a mistake. You leave. 2 miles from the payphone, headlights appear behind you. You don't speed up. You make a right. The headlights turn right. You make a left, then another right, then a left again. The headlights hold exactly 4 car lengths back through every single turn, then suddenly pull off onto a side road and vanish. You make your call. You drive home. A stone's throw from your front door, you see it, a car parked tight against an abandoned house, hidden from every direction except yours. From that position, your front door is completely visible. The tail wasn't following you. They wanted to see you leave, so someone else could move into position while you were gone. You don't sleep. You lie still with your hand 3 inches from a silenced pistol on the nightstand. At 2 a.m., you hear the back door. Someone picking the lock, patient and quiet. The softest creak of a hinge. You roll off the bed onto the floor, press your back against the wall beside the bedroom door, and wait. You left $200 in cash on the kitchen table, visible from the doorway. They walk right past it. The footsteps stop just outside your bedroom door. Then silence. You know why. On the wall just outside is a photograph of you and your sister at your graduation. You were in full federal dress uniform. They're looking at it right now. They know. You come through the door fast and low. What follows is a brawl in the dark. You take a hit to the ribs that would have dropped a smaller man. A second set of footsteps starts up the stairs. You end it. 2 suppressed shots in a dark house on a quiet street. They sound like books dropped on hardwood. Then the house is silent again, and your hands won't stop shaking. You spend the next 3 hours handling a situation that cannot exist. 2 men who were never there. 14 hours later, you walk back into the machine shop like nothing happened. Dale looks at you 1 second too long. You seen the rest of the guys? You shrug. People flake. He watches your face for 5 full seconds. Then he nods and moves on. He slides a photograph across the table. The attorney. Time-stamped 2 days ago, Outside her office. Her husband leaves Friday for a conference. She'll be alone. He looks at you. You're driving. And there it is, the decision with no good answer. Say no, and everything unravels. He connects the dots. You don't leave the room. Say yes, and you become part of a murder plot, riding toward an innocent woman's house, gambling that the timing holds, that nothing goes wrong, that 30 seconds doesn't mean the difference between a rescue and a funeral. I'm driving, you say. Friday night. 9:47 p.m. Stolen sedan. Dale in the passenger seat, cracking his knuckles one at a time. The man in the back unzipping the bag you haven't looked inside. You pass the first intercept point. Nothing happens. You pass the second. Your chest tightens. You do the math. 4 miles to her house. 2 chances left. 1 mile out, the road lights up, blue and red from every direction, helicopters, loudspeakers, agents flooding out of the dark. Dale looks at you. He doesn't say a word. He doesn't have to. You don't look back. 3 months later, Dale gets 40 years. The others get between 15 and 25. The attorney never learns how close it actually was. You go home, your real home. You sit on your couch and stare at the wall and wait for it to feel like a victory. It doesn't. Because you passed 2 intercept points where nothing happened. And you didn't pull over. You didn't stop the car. You kept driving. You'll never know for certain whether you said yes to protect the mission, or because saying no might have meant dying in that room. You tell yourself it was the mission. You tell yourself that every night.